What is up YouTube, I'm Royal and these are the 5 best champions to solo carry games with. These champions are all S tier, but furthermore, they're not team reliant, meaning you can take over games and carry by yourself if you play them right. First up, we have Yone. The older brother of Yasuo is just as powerful, but does not rely on his team to set him up. His early game is pretty strong if you're able to stack lethal tempo. Once you get a couple items, you truly become a monster. You gather resources extremely quickly, you have crazy mobility, you can duel and assassinate. You're amazing on the side lane, but also have incredible teamfights with a well-placed ultimate. Next up, Alii. Alii is extremely strong when played well. Her damage is absolutely crazy. The main downside of Alii is that she relies on her third ability skill shot that's not very easy to hit, and she also relies heavily on her ultimate, giving you small windows to make plays. However, Alii can absolutely take over games. She wins 1v1 against every squishy champion. Her assassinations are extremely hard to escape once she ulted on you. Her teamfights are also very strong for an assassin because of her invisibility and her AoE damage. As long as you can stay even until level 5, you always have kill pressure even from full HP with your ultimate because Alii just does that much damage. Next, we have Vladimir. No surprise there, Vladimir has been a god tier mid laner ever since his release. He simply does too much AoE damage, while also being very tanky and having too much sustain and healing. His early game is extremely weak, but once he gets a couple of items, he's insanely strong. In lane, you just want to play safe and scale. You have great sustain with your first ability, so there should be no issues. Once you get to your power spike, it's all over for the enemy team. Your third ability does too much damage in teamfights, and you usually win teamfights even 1v5 if you're ahead. Just make sure not to fall behind in the early game and keep your farm up. Like I said, you should be very safe in lane with your pool and your first ability sustain, so there's no reason to fall behind. Next up, we have Jace. Jace has been insanely strong for a while. Using the new Duskblade on him makes his first ability poke deal way too much damage. He has the strongest laning phase out of any mid laner, so you should be able to constantly win lane, get plates, roam, and create an early game lead for yourself and your team. Make sure you're using your poke before objectives and teamfights, so enemies go into the teamfights with half HP. Jace has great wave clear, dueling, and even teamfighting if you can execute his combos well. You can always keep your distance and kite enemies, but you also jump on them pretty easily using Jace's diverse kit. Finally, we have a very underrated champion and a personal favorite of mine, and that's Caden. Caden is still the best late game carry. His mobility is unmatched. Having a flash every second that does insane damage is just crazy. Once you get to level 13 with 3 items, you pretty much win every game, unless you're already really far behind. Caden's main weakness are his levels 1 through 5, before he gets his ultimate. However, after he gets his ultimate, he's actually a pretty decent champion compared to other late game scaling champions. He can still look for assassinations, he's very mobile, he's pretty tanky with his magic damage shield, however there's no rush to force plays. All you need to do is make sure you're farming efficiently so you can get to your big power spikes.